Please welcome to the stage, Ben Lillie.
So in 5th grade, my friend Matt Black and I had a game that we played called Wall Ball. And that pretty much sums up the game. There's a wall, there's a ball, you hit the ball against the wall, and it's fun. And that pretty much sums up 4th grade. And then you get to 5th grade and things get a little more complicated. Mac and I would be hitting the ball against the wall and saying things like, you know, I hate bullies, because who doesn't? Like, bullies suck. And then we'd say, you know, if we were the bullies, we'd be nice to people. Because that's how 5th graders think. And I was saying this because a few weeks earlier, I had to start wearing jeans. And I had to start wearing jeans because up until then, for my entire life, I wore sweatpants. Every single day. It was, yes, exactly. All together. I even had a matching sweatshirt at times. It was a thing. So I would wear sweatpants to school every day, and then midway through 5th grade, this one kid, we'll call him Scott the Bully, he just started making fun of me and started saying these incredibly incisive, horrible things like, you wear sweatpants. And it hurt, and it got to me, and eventually I had to just switch and start wearing jeans. And it took, you know, it took relentless bullying by him over the course of 3, maybe 4 days before I gave in and started wearing the jeans. But so after that, I was wearing them and complaining to Mac, and this was pretty much our life as we went on in 5th grade. And then one day we walk into school, and our 5th grade teacher, Mr. Swanson, says, we're going to do something different today. We're going to play a game. And in this school, in my elementary school, games were awesome. They were epic. They were these huge things that took over the class. Like in 4th grade, we played a game about the Oregon Trail. And it wasn't the computer game, we had that too. But this one, there was a map on the wall, and we did our wagon trains across, and we figured out what we were carrying, and we learned all about the Donner Party, which is the group of people that had to eat each other because they ran out of supplies, and to this day makes it really weird when I see a doner kebab shop. And so games were these amazing things that were wonderful, so we got really excited, and he said, all right, this is about the Wild West, and he dealt us all a handful of cards. And on these cards were things like muskets, and furs, and salt tack, which still confuses me because I didn't know that was a thing in the Wild West. But we just had this handful of cards, and we're like, okay, this is, I guess they did that in the Wild West. And then he said, what we're going to do now is trade cards. We had to go up to each other and trade each other like 1 musket for 2 salt tacks, and try to make sets, and if we got enough sets, we got a lot of points. And we're like, okay, that seems weird, but we'll do this. So we went around and we started trading cards. And it was a bit of a weird game. There were some extra rules, like if you were trading cards with somebody, you couldn't show them your hand, you had to describe it to them. It seems like it was trying to get us some point about, you know, communicating or something like that. If you started trading with them, you couldn't step away until you actually traded cards. You know, again, trying to make the social point or something. And the weirdest one was if you were trading cards with somebody, you had to hold their hand. And this being 5th grade, that could be a really mixed, weird thing if the gender combination was right. You know, sort of an ew, or, you know, it's 5th grade, so it's more like ew. But so we did that, and for this entire day, it was a Monday, we just traded cards. We would, for about 10 minutes, we would go around trying to make sets of muskets and whatnot, and we'd turn them in at the end and get some points, write our points on the board, and then we'd do it again. And we did this for an entire day. It was kind of strange. So we go home, and then we come back the next day. And normally on the board, what Mr. Swanson would do is he'd come in early and he'd write like 9 to 10 a.m. math, 10 to 11 a.m. English. And that's what we'd do for the day. You know, we'd go through the various subjects in our class. So we come in the next day, Tuesday, and up on the board it says 9 to 10 a.m. social studies, 10 to 11 a.m. social studies, 11 to noon social studies. The entire way down, the entire day. And social studies meant we were going to play the game. So we're going to play the game again for the entire day. Except that about midway through the day, as we keep doing this, Mr. Swanson says, okay, now we're going to make one small change. Let's figure out who the top 7 scoring people are. And we figure it out, and I'm one of them because I'm awesome. Or because I got dealt really good cards. One of the two. And he says, okay, you 7 go over here near the teacher's desk. And let's figure out who the 7 lowest scoring people are. Okay, you guys go over there away from the teacher's desk. And everyone else in the middle. And then he goes to us and he says, all right, the top 7 scorers, you are now the green triangles. And he gives us badges with a little pin with a green triangle on it. And he says, you are supposed to wear this around school all day. You are the green triangles. And he says, the 7 lowest scoring people, you are the purple circles. You have to wear a purple circle around school all day. And the people in the middle, they were the orange squares. And we all had to wear these badges around school the entire day. And now you're figuring out why this is suddenly getting very weird and very creepy, that I'm wearing some blue-green thing on my wrist. And if this feels like a very bizarre setup, like he's going to get us to do some 5th grade version of the Stanford prison experiment, or we're going to start like doing something where we like recreate Lord of the Flies, that's because it is. Because the other thing that changed when this happened is he said, in between the rounds of trading, after we've gotten the points, the green triangles have 5 minutes in which they can make up any rule they want. Complete and total power over the game. The only catch was it had to be unanimous. And that was an interesting point, because I was on the green triangles, because I was awesome. And Scott, the pants bully, was also one of the green triangles, because of dumb luck. And the thing was, that didn't seem to matter. We sat down and we said, okay, we have to come up with new rules to help the game. We have to make the game better. Well, that stupid rule about you have to complete a trade, gone. The stupid rule about how you have to not show your hand, gone. Holding hands, we were actually kind of split on that one, but eventually we tossed it. And we made the game better. We sat down, we came together as a group, we improved the rules for everybody, and so of course we deserved extra bonus points. And the scary thing is that the time it took us to go from we're going to make the game better for everybody to we deserve bonus points was less than 24 hours. And we kept going from there. Throughout the entire week, we just kept playing this game over and over again. And as the time went on, we kept improving the rules. And then we discovered that as we were improving the rules and having our 5 minutes to talk, other people in the class were talking, and we couldn't really hear ourselves. And since it was imperative that the game get better, we had to pass a rule that no one could talk while we were deliberating. And it kept going from there. And we became a group. We were the green triangles. We went out onto the playground and, you know, we got the tetherball and like we walked around and owned the place and wore our badges proudly, and everyone else sort of wasn't talking to us, but we didn't care because, you know, we were it. And then right about Thursday, I'm walking around the playground and I find my friend Mac. And I say, hey Mac, I haven't seen you in a few days. Let's play wall ball. And he says, I don't want to play. And I was like, well, what do you mean you don't want to play? It's like, what you guys are doing is wrong. And I didn't know what he meant at first at all. And he's like, what you guys are doing is wrong. The way you're treating everyone else. And I have to say, Mac at this point was an incredibly prescient 9-year-old. Like, this is almost verbatim what he was saying. He's like, what you guys are doing is wrong. What you're doing isn't good. You're abusing your powers. And I'm like, Mac, it's just a game. And he's like, no, this is not good. I'm like, it's just a game. We're just playing this game. And then Mac looks at me and he says, Ben, you're the bully now. So later that day, we're back in, we're playing the game because that is all we were doing. And we keep going, and at this point, we hadn't actually changed the rules so that if the score of one of the squares passed one of the triangles, they would switch groups. And so it was looking like Scott, the pants bully, he wasn't doing well because he was stupid. And one of the squares was doing better, and somebody on the triangles noticed this and realized that the switch was going to happen. So we sat down to our rules session, and immediately someone said, well, we can't let that happen, so new rule, Scott gets 100 points. And 100 is a lot. And it has to be unanimous. Very quickly, all 6 of the others go around, they say yes, 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 and it gets to me. And I kind of look over at Mac and think about what he said. And I turn back, and the thing is, I didn't say no. What I said was, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Just, I'm not sure that's a good idea. And the other triangles went apeshit. All of a sudden, they just jumped up and started screaming at me, and one of them was saying, like, look, we're part of a team, you have to stand up for the members of your team, and another was like, how can you do this, you're being an idiot, and they start shouting, and then, because of the nobody else can talk rule, everyone has heard what's going on, so then they start shouting at me to do the other thing and say, no, you can't pass this rule, and they're screaming at me, so that my new friends, the triangles, are screaming at me, the whole rest of the class is yelling, and I'm sitting there, very miserable, in these horribly uncomfortable jeans, being asked to save the person who put me in them, and trying to figure out what is the right thing to do here, what am I supposed to do, and I sort of crawl in, and I wasn't as articulate as Mac. I couldn't have said it this way at the time, but I had 4 options at that point. I could have voted for giving Scott the power because I was standing up for my team. I could have voted against giving him the points because that's obviously the right thing to do. I could have voted for giving Scott the points because we were drunk on power and that's awesome. Or I could have voted against giving him the points because he was an evil bully and deserved to die in a fire. And again, I couldn't have phrased it that way at 10, but somehow I knew. I could feel right there at that moment that whatever I decided was going to tell me about who I was as a person, that whatever I chose right then would chart where I was going to go with my life and how I was existing in the world. And I'm sitting there sort of hunched up, miserable, trying to make this decision. This orange and purple proletariat starts to rise up and starts coming towards us. And they're screaming at us, and the triangles are still screaming at me, and I'm trying to make this decision, and I know I'm going to figure out what I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And right then, Mr. Swanson stepped in and ended the game. And to this day, I have absolutely no idea what I would have done.